Hi, I'm Jeanette Roche. This is Bridge City News. Here's a look at some of the stories we have lined up for you tonight. A day after the federal budget, the Liberal government moves closer to a majority when a Conservative MP crosses the floor. Plus, New York's mayor-elect quickly goes from affordability issues to a potential battle with U.S. President Donald Trump. And 9 people are dead, and the search continues for more victims of a UPS cargo plane crash in Kentucky.
Your nation, your province, your southern Alberta. From the heart of Lethbridge, it's Bridge City News with Jeanette Roche.
Thanks so much for joining us. It's the day after the federal budget, and there has been a big change in the House of Commons. The Liberal caucus is now just 2 seats away from forming a majority. Nova Scotia MP Chris D'Entremont crossed the floor from the Conservatives after Prime Minister Mark Carney's government tabled the budget Tuesday. D'Entremont says the current moment requires leadership that doesn't offer complaints, but instead confidence in a strong future.
Over the last number of months, I wasn't feeling that I was aligned with the ideals of what the leader of the opposition had been talking about. So I've been sort of relooking at, what my career is bringing and what I can do for my constituency. In my case, as a Nova Scotian, we're always trying to find ways to work together to solve the issues that are important to our communities. And I didn't see it by sitting in the opposition. I saw it by being a part of the government caucus.
And here's what some other MPs had to say about D'Entremont's departure.
Chris is a terrific guy and a personal friend. These things aren't easy for anybody, but he knows more about it than I do.
If Mr. D'Entremont isn't a member of caucus today, that's because he left of his own volition. That wouldn't have been a decision that we've taken because we haven't caucused today. So that would be a question for him. He ran as a Conservative. He ran to promise to make life more affordable for Canadians. The budget that we've just seen introduced by Mr. Carney absolutely does not do that. And so Mr. D'Entremont will have to reconcile what he committed to his constituents.
Chris made a decision, and he made a decision not to fight inflation and not to lower the cost of food and not to do any of the things that he was sent here to do by his constituents.
Prime Minister Carney continued to talk about his government's budget today at a public transit yard in Ottawa. He says this is a hinge moment for the country where the future hangs in the balance.
Canada is facing one of these moments right now. Technological change is accelerating, the world is more divided and dangerous, and the global trading system is literally being rewired, threatening jobs and businesses under a cloud of uncertainty. These profound changes demand a bold response, and that's what we got yesterday. Canada's new government tabled our first budget. We presented a clear picture of what's happening to our economy and what's being taken from us. It's estimated, you'll find in the budget, it's estimated that U.S. tariffs and the uncertainty that they're creating will cost us around 1.8% of our GDP. Let me translate that. That's about $50 billion lost from our economy, or the equivalent of $1,300 for every Canadian. Now, while we can't control what the U.S. does, we can decide what happens here. This is Canada. And we can build the future we want for ourselves. We can get that money back and more.
The Prime Minister promised to lower the GDP, but according to political columnist Brian Lilly, he's raised it along with inflation.
Revenue is down, spending is up, the deficit is up, the cost to service the debt, that's just the interest payments that we pay on the debt overall, not the deficit, but the more than $1 trillion debt that we've got. That's now $55.6 billion. That's more than the federal government, about $1 billion more than the federal government will spend on health transfer payments to the provinces and territories. So the federal government is spending more on the interest payments on the debt than on health care. This is not a Liberal budget. This is a disaster of a budget in some ways. There's some good things, absolutely some good things in there, but on the spending side, which Mark Carney said he would get under control, well, it doesn't get us there.
Catch my full interview with Brian Lilly of the Toronto Sun coming up after business news. And echoing that sentiment, Lethbridge Conservative MP Rachel Thomas also spoke out about Tuesday's federal budget, saying Canadians will not be better off.
It's not a budget that takes into account the everyday reality that my constituents in Lethbridge are facing, or that many constituents from coast to coast across this country are facing. Folks are having a hard time. They're struggling to put food on their table. They're struggling to pay rent. They're struggling to make their mortgage payments. They're struggling to keep their kids in sports or to be able to fuel up their vehicles so they can drive to work. Canadians are having to make a lot of sacrifices in order just to get by. And they were really hoping for a morsel of, hope in this budget. And unfortunately, that didn't come.
And as for one of her colleagues jumping ship to the Liberals, Thomas thinks Chris d'Entremont made the move because he's still bitter that he did not win the vote to be Deputy Speaker of the House of Commons. In other news, Tamara Leach is appealing her mischief conviction that was handed down for her role in the 2022 Freedom Convoy protest in Ottawa. Her lawyer filed a notice of appeal in the Ontario Court of Appeal on Tuesday. Leach and protest co-organizer Chris Barber were given 18 months conditional sentences on October 7th for their roles in the Ottawa demonstration, which saw truckers gather to voice their disapproval of the COVID-19 vaccine mandates and public health restrictions. Leach and Barber were both found guilty of mischief. Barber was also found guilty of counseling others to disobey a court order. Leach was sentenced to 12 months of house arrest, followed by 3.5 months of curfew. Barber will serve 12 months under house arrest and 6 months under curfew. In the notice of appeal, Leach's lawyer says there was no evidence linking Leach to the misdeeds of others in the protest, and that there was substantial evidence shown in court that Leach encouraged protesters to act lawfully and peacefully. Well, south of the border, New York City's Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani may be on a collision course with the White House over immigration policies. The 34-year-old Democratic socialist won the mayor's race Tuesday, beating out former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo and Republican Curtis Sliwa. And while he ran his campaign based on a pledge of universal childcare, free bus rides, rent freezes, and affordability measures, in a Wednesday morning address, he went from affordability to immigration and customs enforcement agents known as ICE.
My message to ICE agents and to everyone across this city is that everyone will be held to the same standard of the law. If you violate the law, you must be held accountable. And there is sadly a sense that is growing across this country that certain people are allowed to violate that law, whether they be the president or whether they be the agents themselves. I think the lesson for the president is that it's not enough to diagnose the crisis in working class Americans' lives. You have to deliver on addressing that crisis. This is a president who ran a campaign on the promise of cheaper groceries, and now, as was said by one of our co-chairs, has gone so far as to cut SNAP benefits for close to 2 million New Yorkers. Someone who is literally making it harder to afford those same groceries whose price he was decrying not that long ago. And what scares Republicans across the country is the fact that we will actually deliver on this agenda. And the contrast is something that they cannot bear to witness.
President Trump has pledged to crack down on sanctuary cities, vowing to withhold federal funds and deploy increased ICE resources against jurisdictions that refuse to comply with federal actions. When he is sworn in January, Mamdani will become the city's first Muslim mayor, the first of South Asian heritage, the first born in Africa, and the youngest mayor in more than a century. The search continues Wednesday for victims of a UPS cargo plane crash Tuesday at the company's global aviation hub in Kentucky. The plane exploded in a massive fireball, killing at least 11 people now, with the number expected to rise. The governor of Kentucky says it could have been much worse.
2 businesses were directly impacted: Kentucky Petroleum Recycling and Grade A Auto Parts. Thankfully, a local restaurant that is right there that we had great concern would be impacted and we would lose whoever was in it, was missed and now is helping the search and rescue. We're grateful for them. Another blessing is this plane could have potentially hit the major Ford factory or the convention center. Those are all close by and did not. It hit two of the lesser populated businesses in the area. It hit the Kentucky Petroleum Recycling, and because of what they have there and the tanks that they have, that made the situation more dangerous.
Oh, terrifying. Based on videos of the crash, it appears the jet was struggling to gain altitude as a fire blazed on its left side around one of its engines. The National Transportation Safety Board has sent a team of investigators and has so far determined that the left engine detached from the wing while the plane was rolling to take off. 16,000 licensed practical nurses and healthcare aides in Alberta have voted 98% in favor of strike action. The workers are members of the Alberta Union of Provincial Employees. They have been trying to hammer out a contract with Alberta Health Services. The union is hoping the strike vote will pressure the government to return to the bargaining table.
We're ready to get back to the bargaining table. We meet with them again on November 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th for mediation. Our members would rather do their jobs, but they are prepared to stand up for what they deserve and to take job action if necessary. The earliest that AUP members could serve strike notice is November 17, 2025, and we're ready for that.
In response to the strike vote, Finance Minister Nate Horner issued a statement saying LPNs are demanding a 40 to 55% wage hike depending on where they are on the current grid. Horner says AHS has offered a 12% wage increase over 4 years, which he says is consistent with agreements reached with other public service employees, including the civil service and RNs. He says the union needs to return to the bargaining table with an offer that is reasonable and fair. The new Lethbridge City Council has ratified a new 2-year collective agreement with Local 987 of the Amalgamated Transit Union. This group of 50 city employees operates the Lethbridge Access-A-Ride fleet. With the new deal, these operators will see their wages reach parity with fixed route operators on December 31st of next year, 2026. Access-A-Ride booking agents and scheduling analysts will also receive market rate adjustments for their positions. Additionally, the agreement includes a cost of living increase of 2.5% for 2025 and 2.75% for 2026. The man who has launched a petition drive to oust United Conservative MLA Angela Pitt says she needs to go because she's not getting the job done. Airdrie resident Derek Keenan says it's not a political issue and he doesn't want Pitt replaced as the MLA for Airdrie East by someone in the NDP. He says it's because Pitt has become less responsive to community issues and concerns, and he doesn't think people are being listened to. Pitt has represented Airdrie in the legislature for a decade. She says she takes her job seriously and that she's focused on doing what her party campaigned on, including growing the economy and lowering taxes. The recall petition against Pitt was officially granted today, meaning Keenan and his supporters will now have until February 3rd of 2026 to gather more than 14,000 signatures for the recall to go forward. Lethbridge police are seeking the public's help to locate a 36-year-old man wanted on multiple outstanding warrants. Mark Hagan is a prolific offender wanted on warrants related to breaking and entering, theft, trafficking stolen property, drug charges of possession and trafficking, and failure to comply with the conditions of a release order. Anyone who has seen Hagan or has information on his whereabouts is asked to call police or Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-8477. That is 1-800-222-TIPS. For the 5th consecutive year, Interfaith Food Bank in Lethbridge has been included on the top 10 impact food bank list generated by Charity Intelligence. On top of that, the organization has also been named a 5-star top 100 charity for the 3rd consecutive year. Danielle McIntyre, CEO for the local charity, says this recognition reflects the food bank's demonstration of the greatest impact per dollar donated, creating a meaningful, positive change.
For us, this is just a recognition that all of the effort that we put into being a legitimate charity with good record keeping and accountability to our donors is worth it. It is so nice to know that we are recognized by an impartial third party. This is not an award that we applied for or asked for votes for. This is independent assessment of our work. So what it means is the people who are coming for service here at Interfaith Food Bank are having a meaningful impact on their lives, and that the donors' dollars are going to making a change to the people that we serve. I mean, we run lean here. Basically, if it is not a basic need for the organization, we are not spending money on it. We work hard to ensure that 90 cents out of every dollar goes directly to programs and services, and we really do that by garnering the community support that brings in all of those extra donations, like the gifts in kind, the food donations, so that the dollars can be spent on additional food that doesn't come in from donations, and then the overhead that we are required to have, the staffing, the lights, the building, etc. It is about being accountable to our donors.
There are over 5,500 hunger relief organizations in Canada, with more than 100 food banks in Alberta alone. The Lethbridge YMCA is offering 2 lifeguard certification scholarships for applicants aged 16 and older. The initiative aims to support youth development by helping local youth train for rewarding, community-oriented careers. According to Arnaud Sparks, education manager at the YMCA of Lethbridge, the certification courses cost about $1,800.
And so the YMCA really wanted to increase the accessibility of becoming a lifeguard, because we recognize that cost can be a barrier for a lot of people. Yeah, so the courses included are intermediate first aid, bronze cross and bronze medallion, life-saving and swim instructor, national lifeguard pool and water park. And all those courses have to be completed in 2026 if you are the successful applicant. The lifeguard certification will give them certification to apply at any pool in the country. Beyond that, you have to submit an essay submission, why you feel you would be a good lifeguard, what the YMCA means to you, what skills you already have that might contribute to becoming a lifeguard, and why you want to be a lifeguard. Beyond that, we ask that young people filling out the application submit a leader endorsement. That can be from a coach, a teacher, a YMCA staff, really any adult in their lives that is not friends or family.
The application deadline is December 1st, and people can apply at lethbridgeymca.ca. A historian's hunch about what might lie hidden within the walls of a Japanese church in Salt Lake City, Utah, led congregants to uncover a century-old snapshot of a once vibrant area called Japantown, now fighting for survival.
The excavation process started because we had a member of our church, Lorraine Krause, who suspected there might be something in our walls. A time capsule was something that was typically done in buildings in that time period. Lo and behold, we had some people look into it and they found something in our cornerstone. This is a 101-year-old bronze 23-pound time capsule that was laid by the founders of the Japanese Church of Christ. November 2nd, inside,
of course, a Bible that came from the New Testament that came from Japan. It was written in Japanese. A Holy Bible that was written in English. A Japanese flag that was handmade, an American flag, newspapers at the time, as well as the founding documents for the church. And it's stunning. Finding that time capsule is thrilling because it meant people from 101 years ago, when the Japanese Church of Christ Chapel was built, they were thinking ahead, and they were thinking about what about the time period in 1924 would be significant for us to know 101 years later.
Once 90 businesses strong, Salt Lake's Japantown was wiped out when the city expanded its massive Salt Palace Convention Center in the 1990s. Today, all that remains is a couple of street signs, a small Japanese garden, and 2 religious centers, one Presbyterian and one Buddhist. Incredible. Ottawa says it plans to take measures aimed at increasing competition in Canada's telecommunications sector, lowering consumers' cell phone and internet costs. The Liberal government outlined parts of that strategy in the budget Tuesday, including a new Dig Once policy that would encourage companies to coordinate when installing fiber optic lines. It also says it will reduce regulatory hurdles when deploying telecom infrastructures across the country, including by consulting on a streamlined tower sitting process later this year. A report from the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development is urging reforms to Canada's supply management system. The group looked at the agriculture policies of 54 countries around the world and offered specific recommendations to improve them. The OECD says Canada's support to the agricultural sector overall is well below the average of the group's 38 members, but it says there's outsized government support to dairy, poultry, and egg producers through policies that aim to prevent big price swings by restricting production and imports. The report says those limits distort trade, inflate domestic prices, and dampen innovation. It says production quotas should be raised and price support should be gradually reduced. Tesla shareholders will decide soon on whether Elon Musk could have a shot at becoming the world's first trillionaire. They will vote tomorrow at the company's annual meeting in Austin, Texas, whether to approve a pay package that could hand the world's richest man another $1 trillion US in shares. The decision has become a flashpoint among Musk fans and detractors, with even the Pope recently weighing in. Supporters say Musk is a miracle man who needs the money as a lure to focus on the company, while critics say the board that that designed the package is too beholden to him and the pay is excessive. Canadian Tire will release its first products with the Hudson's Bay stripes this December. Its first collection with the motif it bought earlier this year for $30 million includes blankets, mugs, holiday ornaments, stockings, and pillows.
So normally, at Canadian Tire, we know Christmas and we are in the Christmas business. It's usually about a year in advance that we start planning, a year and a half in some instances. So we knew there was going to be a lot of work ahead of us. We knew that we were going to have to do things a little bit differently. And it was with different vendors and obviously a brand that we needed to get up and running with quickly and understand quickly. And we knew we wanted to do it in a way that was really respectful to the brand. So it was all hands on deck, but a passion project for most. And when you're passionate about something, it's amazing what you can do in a short period of time. For us, initially, sticking with the basics mattered to us. Sticking with what Canadians expected matters to us. We do have a big social campaign that's out right now asking Canadians, what kinds of products do you want to see the stripes on? So we really want to hear from Canadians regarding what they're expecting to see. But we are looking for a curated, authentic capsule that made sense for the holidays. And then, of course, for 2026, perhaps looking a little more broadly.
Love those stripes. They are so iconic. Now, here's a look at today's markets.
The TSX was up 325 to 30,103. The Dow was up 225 to 47,311. The S&P 500 was up 24 to 6,796, and the Nasdaq was up 151 to 23,499. West Texas Intermediate Oil was down 93 cents to 59.63 US per barrel. Natural gas was down 90 cents to 4.24 US. Gold was up 47.99 to 39.8014 US an ounce, and silver was up 85 cents to 48.01 US an ounce. Feed wheat is at $7.21 per bushel, barley is at $5.65, canola is at $14.58, and corn is at $7.36 per bushel. Live cattle December contract was down $7.25 to $2.2052. Feeder cattle were down $9.25 to $3.2572, and lean hogs are up 67 cents to $80.60 for the December contract. The Canadian dollar was even over the past 24 hours and currently sits at 70.90 US.
Recapping one of our top stories, there was more fallout today regarding Tuesday's federal budget. The Liberal budget comes with a $78 billion deficit, and Conservatives say that's the only thing generational about it. Leader Pierre Poilievre says it will only make life more expensive for Canadians. Meanwhile, Nova Scotia Conservative MP Chris D'Entremont crossed the floor to the Liberals, saying the moment requires leadership, not just complaining. There were rumors that 2 other Conservative MPs were considering crossing the floor. With updates on that and more on the Canadian political front, Brian Lilly of the Toronto Sun will join us. That is coming up next. Also, when you see news happening in your community, be sure to send us an email at info@bridgecitynews.ca. You can also visit our website or YouTube channel anytime to check out more of our stories and interviews.